Another package has arrived while I was at work today. I was expecting it, and it appears to be in pretty good shape. The box is a little mangled on this end, but I think what's inside may have survived okay. And you know, the value of this thing inside this box is not determined by a dollar amount. This inside this box is thoughtfulness, kindness, and consideration. And where I come from, that translates out to priceless. So what I have here is a package that was sent from one of my subscribers. You all know him as Old Radio Al. And he went out of his way to make sure this package, what's inside this package, and the package, got to me. So what do you say we open it up and find out what Al sent? Well, they certainly did an excellent job of packing. It's called double boxing. See there, folks, that's what double boxing is, with, you know, packing material around the inside box. So let's get the second box out of there. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, a carton of empty plastic bottles. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. No, I'm just kidding, just kidding. What we have here is a cabinet for an Atwater Kent model 145. You know that we've been doing this, this restoration on this model 145 for quite a while. And old Al decided one day, he says, I have a radio man that I buy my radios from, and I'm going to see if he might have a cabinet. And son of a gun, if he didn't talk to that guy, and that guy actually produced a very nice cabinet with a very nice grill cloth. I'll tell you, this thing is almost in perfect condition. It's not going to require any refinishing at all. None at all. Look at this. I'll clean out the inside, of course, make it look real good. Get that, but I don't see, I may have to, do something along the back edge. But other than that, I think just maybe some of that what do they call that stuff? That Formbees or whatever it is, that rejuvenating type stuff. I think that's all that's going to take. Wow, what a great looking cabinet. It's got a great escutcheon. The glass is clear. That's really great. That is super duper. I don't want to mess up these inlays at all. I think a good cleaning is really all this thing's going to need, and maybe a good polishing. And it's about time I got a cabinet that I didn't have to strip all the way down. That's all I've ever done, is strip cabinets and refinish them. I think a good cleaning will do it. Well, I'll tell you what, Old Radio Al did it. And he's a fine feller, and he refused. He said, do not insult me by sending any money. So, I always like to send some money. I like to send some kind of remuneration of some sort. When people does a kind gesture like this. I'm going to have to think about this for a while. Now, he did say that there is a little nick right here on the top. I don't know if you can make that out. Can you see it? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm the kind of guy that likes battle scars of a bygone era on a cabinet. And he knows that. So what we're going to do, right now, right here in this video, we're going to dub that mark right there. The Old Radio Al Battle Scar. That's the name of that mark right there. Old Radio Al Battle Scar. So Al, no matter whatever happens to this radio, no matter where it goes in the world, your battle scar named after you will be there with it. I will not change that. I'm just going to clean it up. I think this thing's going to look fantastic. Well, there you go. Now you know why it's priceless. A man went out of his way to do something for me. I put tremendous stock in that. Tremendous stock. And I've had so many over the years do that. So many. I just can't name them all. Look what Brendan has done for me up in Detroit. Look what that fella did on this GR64 Heath kit. Just gave it to me, I don't know. There's just so many good people out there. And I want everyone to know that Al is one of them. Thanks a lot, buddy. When we get the radio chassis done, by the time you all see this, it's going to be, later on. You're not going to see this right now. It'll be later on when it comes time to put the chassis in the cabinet, which could be a couple of months from now, And I'm going to tell Al that. I'll say, hey, look, you know, no, the viewers are not going to find out about this until later on in the series. By that time, you know, then we'll go through and clean up the cabinet and make that as part of the series also. So there you go, folks. Again, thanks a lot, Al. Now, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate this. The bottom edge of this cabinet is kind of ragged all the way around. Not too bad in the front, along the front edge here. But the sides are really wrinkled and fixing to come off, fixing to flake off. So I think what I'm going to do is strip that down right along the edge. I'm not going to touch the cabinet part. I'm just going to strip it down here and give it a nice new coat of, I think I'll give it a nice new coat of paint or a really, really dark toner. I'm not exactly certain how I'm going to go with that. I could go with some flat black and then put a, you know, a clear coat over the top of it, which would make it look really nice. And the top up here, we've got basically the same problem along this edge. So I'm going to try to dress those up a little bit before I start working on the finish. I'm not going to strip the finish. I'm just going to give it a good cleaning and do a couple of other things to it. You'll see. So let's get started on this. But I got to be real careful. You know, I'm just going to be doing it by hand with a little bit of lacquer thinner on a rag and just kind of very gently rubbing it. Not a whole lot of lacquer thinner, just enough to really, you know, I may not even have to take it all off. Just get it down where it kind of looks smooth. That's all. We'll see. Well, it wound up being a little more stubborn than I had anticipated, so I'm using a very small brush, just a long paintbrush, and I'm just rubbing it, and that is eventually cutting through with the lacquer thinner. That's removing it, okay? Just easy does it. Let it cut on through, let it do its work without going crazy. It melts it real good. That's all there is to it. Small brush. I tried to get it off with the rag, it just wouldn't come off. So we'll get it off now. Alright, that did it. That got it off of there, nice and smooth, all the way down. You know, I didn't go all the way up into the very, you know, where the joint is right there, where the base meets the cabinet. I just got it, you know, fairly close, maybe 1/8 of an inch away. No sense in going overboard here. I just want to make it look a little better. Alright, we also, by the way, have to do the back edge. We're going to do something about that. I don't particularly like that either. Now, the bottom here worked out real well. I don't have to worry too much about that. You know, I was able to just go ahead and put the lacquer thinner on there and then just, you know, keep working it until we got a nice smooth finish. And the problem is, though, along here. Along the rest of the cabinet edges, you got to be very careful. It'll have to be done with a rag, bit by bit, because I don't want any dripping to go down on the finish whatsoever. So I'm going to have to use a damp, you know, just a rag moistened with the lacquer thinner, and just wipe and wipe and wipe until it gets fairly smooth. I don't expect to remove it all the way around. This is pretty rough up in this shape, up in this area here and down around here. I'm just going to do the best I can to basically, you know, put lipstick on the pig in this area right here, okay? Well, that's about all I'm going to do to it. It looks really good. I've got all the crud and dirt and most of the thing, you know, most of it's smooth. It's looking real good. I just don't want to take too many chances with lacquer thinner or any kind of paint remover. So now we'll clean the inside. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to use lacquer thinner to clean the inside. I'm going to use basically soap and water, you know, mild, on a rag, and just get it nice and clean as best I can. I don't want to disturb this cabinet at all, if possible. Now and then, of course, we have to clean the outside, which will come, you know, after we're done with everything else. But this will be painted, and it'll be a flat black. Like I said, I don't like this shiny business here. And then once we get the cabinet clean and finished, I think we'll be able to put this radio back in there, I hope. The permanent magnet speaker we've been using on the radio up until now is 8 inches. It's an 8-inch speaker. Well, the one required for this cabinet is a 6-inch speaker. So we're going to have to take the audio output transformer off the 8-inch speaker and put it on a 6-inch speaker that I picked up at the Salvation Army the other day. I found a full range Panasonic 6-inch speaker. think it was in a cabinet. I think I paid $2 or $3 for it. I can't remember what it was. It's going to work perfectly. All I have to do is drill a hole right here at the bottom for that third screw to go through. And then I'll mount the audio output transformer on the side, hook our speaker wires up here, remove these two right here, and put the speaker wires up here. It'll work fine. The audio output transformer has been removed from the 8-inch permanent magnet speaker, and we're going to install it on our little 6-inch jobby here. I've already marked on the speaker basket where these two holes need to be, and one of them is right there where the black dot is, and the other one is over there where the other black dot is. And the way I drilled holes in the 8-inch speaker, as you can see right there, is the same way I'm going to do it here. I took a piece of wood and ran it through, and then I've got a couple of needle nose vice grips. Vice grips. I've got them clamped up, and now I can go ahead and drill down through, and it'll hit the wood without piercing the speaker. Now you do that by using a small drill bit first. Get you a small drill bit, and then after you get it drilled all the way through, you go ahead and use a little larger drill bit. Now the drill bit, the larger drill bit is going to be a little bit larger than these screws actually, and there's a reason for that, because I want to be able to get them up through from the rear. I want to be able to get them up right straight through without any problem. I don't want to have that thing bind and stick in there, wedge in there, because the hole was exactly the size I needed, and I've had that happen with screws. So I want it to be nice and loose where I can just take my tweezers and go up behind there and just push that thing right through. The pilot hole has been drilled, and anytime you do this kind of work, you need a really sharp drill bit. Don't try to get by with some old one that's been in your toolbox, for the last 35 years, and you've used it for everything imaginable. Get you a nice new sharp one. They only cost a couple of bucks at Lowe's, and it goes much faster. And when you drill very slowly. Use a variable speed drill. I'll show you the speed that I drilled that hole right there with. About a little bit faster than that. There you go, about like that. That's about the speed I drilled. That way you don't go, charging through there and even through the wood, which could happen. Alright, hole number 1 has been drilled, and I didn't even touch the wood, I don't think. If you drill nice and slow and easy, take your time, take your time, take your time. To drill the second hole, I'll need a thinner piece of wood, because the wider piece would have interfered with our speaker connections. And there's some copper wires underneath there. I don't want to break those off or mess with those. So we just use a thinner piece of wood, that's all. And we still clamp it on the same way we did the other one with the vice grips. Well, hole number 2 is drilled. Now to get everything off and blow out any filings from the inside with a little can of air that I have, and then we'll see if the audio output transformer is going to fit. If not, we can adjust the hole size, no problem. Well, it appears that everything is fine, so now we're going to go ahead and use our tweezers again. We're going to, if everything goes right, I'm going to bring in the screw from the rear using the tweezers, and then we'll put it up through the hole in the audio output transformer, get the lock washer on, the nut on, and do the same with the other side over here. Now that's the plan. Let's see if it goes that way. Well, there she be. Worked perfectly. Mounted nice and tight, nice and secure. Alright, now I think what we'll do is we'll solder up our black and green wires to the speaker, and then we'll hook it up to the radio and see what it sounds like.
And the joys of this world.
Doesn't sound too bad. It's certainly not an 8-inch speaker, but that's what this radio calls for, is a 6-inch. Well, as you can see, in order to paint these edges, and paint these edges at the bottom down here. And the front, you have to tape off the entire cabinet. It's quite a bit of work, but you know, it's worth it. So let's get cranked up. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to use automotive dark gray primer. I've already tested it down here in the corner. I'm going to put the primer on, let it dry, and then we'll go with the flat black, and then we'll go with the satin clear. Now yes, this is automotive primer, but it's primer's primer. It'll work. Matter of fact, it'll work real nice. It's already starting to put a nice color on there. Look at that. Is that looking better already? You bet. The primer has dried. We're getting ready to put some of this flat black on there. See how that takes. And now for the front edge and the two sides. Not much. Don't need a whole lot since I've already got that primer on there. And now for the I'm using clear satin acrylic. I don't even know what brand it is, but it's indoor outdoor. It'll work. It'll do the job. I didn't want this to be shiny. I wanted it to have a satin look to it. And I think that'll do it. It's all been dried. Now I'll go ahead and remove the paper and see what she looks like from the front. Alright, first I'm going to go over this thing with some orange clean. I tried to find Gojo and I couldn't find it anywhere. None of the stores carry it anymore. Unbelievable. It's not at Lowe's, not at Walmart, not at the dollar store. I went everywhere and I cannot find any Gojo creamy hand cleaner. Not the grit kind. But anyway, it wouldn't have made, I'm glad I didn't get it now because this cabinet has been cleaned by somebody. As you can see, there's no dirt on this rag at all. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is coat this radio and give it a good work over with this Howard's Restore Finish. I have never used Howard's Restore Finish. I've never had a wooden cabinet good enough to put this stuff on and bring the finish back. All the cabinets I've ever had were totally ratty and had to be stripped. So let's give it a shot. You're supposed to put it on the rag, not the radio. And then just wipe it on and wipe it off. So let's try a test spot first. Well, I wasn't all that impressed. I'm not all that impressed, I guess is what I should say. But I was using the mahogany, as you can see right there. So I think what I'm going to do is I got a can of walnut also. I think I'm going to try the walnut on the darker. See what happens. Alright, didn't turn out too bad after all. It's not the best stuff in the world, but you know, what can you expect when you're working on a cabinet that's almost 80 years old, you know? I mean, it did what it's supposed to do, I guess. So, you know, do I recommend the Restore Finish? Yeah, I suppose I do. It's not too bad, not too bad. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let it dry. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some of that Old English scratch cover on the top of this. And I think she'll look real nice. I'll tell you what, boy, that thing's got some good character marks on it. I just love them. Just love them. Especially old Radio Owl's ding right there. Yeah, you can't hardly see it now. The Restore Finish really covered it all up. But it's there. There it is. Old Radio Owl's mark, dent, scratch, whatever. Battle scar. Old Radio Owl's battle scar. Alright, I think we're going to wrap this video up right here. We've got one more to go. One more video, and I think this series will be over. We'll have everything back in and see what she looks like, all buttoned up and looking nice. So that's what was this special video I was telling everybody about. Not so much, you know, the actual mechanics of what I did, but the fact that someone was thoughtful enough to take his time and energy. By the way, driving to this place, from what I understand, where old Radio Owl found this cabinet and the chassis and the knobs, I think he told me that it was 110 miles one way. You know, that's yeah, he said he wasn't, you know, totally doing it just for me. He wanted to pick up a couple radios himself, but that's not the point. Yeah, 110 miles one way, 220 mile round trip, took a lot of time out of his day, and for him to give us, not just me, but everybody here watching this series. So everybody give old Radio Owl a big attaboy on this, okay? I'd appreciate it. The man deserves it. So until next time, when I hope to wrap this entire series up, thanks for watching. This is John. not long after Al sent me the cabinet, he went back to his buddy up there at the flea market in St. Mary's. And I asked Al, I said, next time you're up there, see if he's got some knobs, you know, that might go with this radio, because I don't have any knobs on this chassis. So what did Al do? He went up there, bought the entire chassis from the fella, and sent that to me also. I couldn't believe the generosity of this guy. This was amazing. So these are the 4 knobs. Now before Al did that, let me go back a little bit. I put an ad on the Antique Radio Forum, and I said, hey guys, I need some knobs. You know, anybody got any? Well, a guy by the name of Mark Oppett, you know him. I always called him Mark Opat, but his name is actually Mark Oppett. He makes dial scales, things like that. He answered my Antique Radio Forum, want to buy posting. And he said, John, you're going to have a tough time finding those things. He said, it could take you a couple of years, but when you do, he said, they're pretty rare. They're made out of wood. They didn't last very long. He said, when you do find them, you might consider sending them to Ed Schutz of the Renovated Radios website and tell him to make some reproductions so other people can have them. Well, I thought that was a great idea. And then it wasn't a week and a half later, here comes Al with the knobs. I said, I couldn't believe it. So I contacted Ed Schutz and I said, Ed, I'm willing to send you these knobs if you'll make me a set of repros and send me back my original knobs and send me a set of repros. Do we have a deal? And he said, sounds great, send them up. And he's up in Michigan. So I sent them to him, and about 3 weeks went by, 2.5, 3 weeks went by. He had been recovering from knee surgery, and he still was able to get them out in 2.5 to 3 weeks. I was astounded. And these are the knobs he reproduced. Look at these things. You can't hardly tell the difference. These are fantastic reproductions. Holy mackerel, I couldn't believe it. These are a little bit darker from age, but I'll tell you what, you can darken them up if you want a little bit. These are just astounding. Old Ed Schutz at Renovated Radios did a tremendous job on them. I don't know what he's going to charge for them. I'm certain he'll soon appear on his website. But we have preserved something very difficult to find, so someone can do repros on it for all of those in the future who may have an Atwater Camp 145. Ed Schutz, fantastic job. Mark Oppett, good idea recommending Ed Schutz. Thank you. Al, thanks to you for all of it, because had it not been for you, none of this would have happened. Good deal, buddy. Good deal all around.